Rick Green. And that's spelt the way it sounds. Reene, without a G in front. For some reason or other, RJ is asking me to tell the truth on a subject. And the subject is the National Radio Club, which was a fantastic club of members across the country who would arrange stations to come on the air after midnight so that people in other parts of the country could hear them. Well, Cincinnati has a station on WLW, was known as the Crosley Radio, because Mr. Crosley made, besides cars and refrigerators, radios and Victrolas. Those are record players in our age. But he's asked me to tell you about the special I arranged that was on 700 kilocycles. And of course, if WLW was on the air doing anything after midnight, you wouldn't have heard anything, because our club had arranged with a station in Quito, Ecuador, a religious station, on 700 kilocycles. So it was notified in the bulletin that came out weekly that there was going to be a special. So I went down to WLW and talked to Mr. Rockwell. Was that his name? All the equipment was named after Mr. Rockwell down there. It was at 8th and Elm Street, the studios, and I went in one Friday, a week before the scheduled date, and told him that I was a member of the radio club and we had a special going to be on the air from midnight to 2 in the morning, Eastern Standard Time, on 700 kilocycles from Quito, Ecuador. And he said, oh, that's very interesting. I guess we could be off the air or do no engineering work, or tell the management that we would be doing engineering work off the air. And so we came on, and I heard the station, wrote the station in Ecuador, and got a letter back verifying my reception. And if RJ had made this in Cincinnati, we're now located in Florida, home of many good AM stations, by the way, that are playing nothing but music on old cylinder discs. Anyway, I'm telling the truth.
You are. I'm hearing it.
Anyway, I forgot where I left off.
You were saying you got the verification from Ecuador?
Rockwell doesn't do it.
And Mr. Rockwell said, well, I went down the Monday after the program, or the Tuesday, or Monday or Tuesday, and thanked him very, very much and told him I heard the station. He says, well, the fellows up in Mason on the big tower pulled it in using the tower as an antenna receiving. We had laid about 100, 200 feet of copper antenna wire behind my parents' house at Indian Hill, spent all day Sunday, my brother and I, stringing this wire about 10 feet off the ground and aimed it in what we thought would be South America. Well, after working all day long, I almost overslept the special that came on at an odd hour. But anyway, I quick ran in and got my old Hallicrafter warmed up and turned on 700 kilocycles, and there it was. I forget, I didn't have a recorder at the time to make a copy of it. I dropped them a note, and they wrote me back a variant. If RJ was making this tape in Cincinnati, I would root around looking for where my verifications were, and I must have had 300-400 station letters. It was an expensive hobby. Of course, then it was 3 cents for a letter. And you always enclosed the self-addressed envelope to make sure they'd answer. Well, the engineers at these different stations across the country were very happy to hear that their signal was getting out to where we always look for 250-watt stations to come on with a special because nobody heard them during the day. But nowadays they do because nobody else is on those frequencies, I guess. But anyway, I hope you enjoyed this little story. It was a very truthful thing. And maybe when we get back to Cincinnati, we'll look for that verification and RJ will photograph it and send it to you. But we did do it, and the guys up in Mason heard the program, and everybody was happy. And we put on about, during the broadcast year, which started in September and ended in maybe March, we'd put on 3 or 4 special programs a weekend on a Saturday or a Sunday, or during regular broadcast time. And we had members all over the country. Once a year we'd have a convention, everybody would bring their verification to brag and show off. And that's the story of the National Radio Club, still in existence, but not many members. AM, man. Thanks, Rick. I listen to AM all the time. I think it's the best way to listen to radio. Screw FM.
But isn't it true that 9 months later, Gregory was born?
Yeah, it taught me to get up early.
Get out quick.
You had all that radio jizz going on, and you went back in and said, Rita, I heard Ecuador. And she said, Bob, let me show you Ecuador.
Right here on the map.
Rick, my boys don't usually talk that way to their father or about their mother. They are very sweet kids, except for RJ. We made an exception with him. He's a ding-dong.
Over and out. Signing off.
In the afternoon, years ago when I was much younger, on my crystal set, I used to pull in WIBC Indianapolis, a real powerhouse. In the afternoons, I'd listen to WOSU out of Columbus because they'd have an hour-long classical music program, and I acquired my taste for classical music. WQXR in New York had a program bulletin, and one Christmas, my mother gave me a year's subscription to the WQXR schedule of what classical music. I would turn on 1560, I believe it was, and listen to them in the evening because there weren't crowded airwaves like they are nowadays, and you could hear things like that. Of course, Sunday was the musical day. Oh man, the Longines Whitnor Watch Company put on a program on Sunday afternoon. CBS had the New York Philharmonic for an hour and a half, and NBC had the National Broadcasting Symphony Orchestra with Arturo Toscanini conducting. And man, those were programs. If I had a recorder, I'd have copied them and had the tapes deteriorate after 6 months, that RJ informs me now. I have walls and walls of tapes and discs and compact discs, and RJ also says those will only last 40 years. So there you are. What am I doing now? You want to see my bare chest?
It's a cut signal.
Look at that.
Oh.
All right. Rick, nice talking with you. Anytime you're in Cincinnati, look me up. I'm usually at the base of WLW Tower.
And he wants to. And now we know the rest of the story.
Boom, boom, boom.